Well, hello and good morning. I don't usually do a Friday morning live, but as most of you know, I was on 30 days of silence. I didn't do any YouTube, no TV, no movies, no Instagram, no X, no anything. And so that ended this week, and so I've done a couple of videos, and I just thought I would, I actually did a poll with people that are my subscribers. Hey, Ange, how are ya? Good morning. And I just thought, well, I'm going to just try some of those different slots. Tuesday night at 6:30 was by far in the poll the highest amount, but there were like 15% that said Friday morning. So I just thought I would see how many people, see what kind of response I'd have for a Friday morning besides having a Tuesday night. And Anne is here. Hey, Anne, I have missed you. I haven't been able to see anything. 30 days of silence is a long time. But I've been really busy. In fact, I went up and saw Angie, and she's in here this morning. And I have been gardening, picking pumpkins. I brought Angie up some pumpkins and squashes. And I picked a whole bunch yesterday, made a pumpkin pie. Video is up, and I added vanilla to it, homemade vanilla, and in the whipped cream I did a vanilla bean, and it is good. And I don't even like whipped cream, but Joe likes it, so that's why I made it. Jeannie is here. Hey Jeannie, how are ya? It has been a long time. 30 days is a long time, but it was good for me. Seriously, it was very relaxing, and it gave me a different perspective. You don't realize how often you're on your phone, I did check my emails, honestly, because I'm on some boards, and I just needed to be able to do that. But, growing vegetables, I have been dehydrating tomato slices. This is a great way to preserve your tomatoes, and you just throw them in soups. You can rehydrate them. You can do all kinds of stuff with them. But a lot of tomatoes become very small. Sometimes I even grind these up, and then I can add them to soups, and add tomato powder to all kinds of stuff. So that's an easy thing to do. I have been dehydrating onions. I did all the ones that I had left from Arizona that I brought up. And then I didn't do all of my ones here, but I did a quart and a half. And actually it was about a quart and 3/4 because I've already used a bunch out of this. And there's different times that I will grind this up for onion powder. And then the container is even smaller. It's amazing what dehydrating can do. But I made pumpkin. I cooked pumpkin. I tried to use my time well. I read lots of books, lots of gardening. I have been doing latch hook. I finished my mom's, which is a palm tree, and now I'm working on niece's rug. I only have like this much left of it. It's probably about 2.5, 3 feet long, probably 2.5 feet long, and probably 2 feet wide. Oh, Rebecca's here too. Hey, Rebecca. And so I just had that little bit of the latch hook left, and then you have to do how you cut around it, and then you have to do a binding on the back. And so I should have that done this weekend. And her birthday is in November, but we leave before then, so I wanted to have it done beforehand. But with these pumpkins today, the small ones, this is a really good pie pumpkin too. In fact, almost all of I didn't grow any pumpkins that I couldn't use for pies because we love pumpkin pie. But these ones I'm going to dehydrate. Now, it used to be that Native Americans would take the pumpkins and they would slice them thin, and then they would string them, usually with senna or some kind of root, and they would hang them so it would dry. So it was basically air drying, dehydrating, and then they could use the pumpkins whenever they wanted. But one of the things that I think was so interesting when I was studying about how they preserved pumpkins was that, you know, in the center where you have all the seeds and it's all kind of stringy, if they weren't going to roast the seeds, they would dry all that stuff, including the seeds, then crush them, I would assume with rocks, didn't say, but that's what I assumed with, and then they would add that to their drink, because pumpkin is really good for you. It's really good for dogs. And I'm sure other animals too, because a lot of people, if they have extra pumpkins and they live on farms and they're not going to use them, they feed them to their animals. But you would be surprised at how heavy this little pumpkin is. So I would assume that, and I hadn't grown this kind before, I would assume that it's very dense. I haven't opened any of them up. And the pie pumpkin that I did yesterday, if you see the video, it's up. It is a French pumpkin that has warts on it, which aren't really warts, but these weird appendages on the outside of the pumpkin. So, I like to grow it because I think it's by far the best pie pumpkin on the planet. I've grown a lot of pumpkins. And I will give them to people, and I'll tell them it's the best pie pumpkin, and they go, yeah, it's the best pie pumpkin. And every single time, they have come back to me and said, that's the best pie pumpkin I ever tasted. So that's kind of fun. So I will do a video on when I dehydrate these, and I'm actually going to put them very thin, kind of square cube-like things, but thin. So they're not really a cube, but very thin. You are correct, Anne. Chickens love these. They love the seeds. They love the inside. They'll basically eat the whole pumpkin. That's what they're going to do. So I'm going to set this down. And when I first started, when everybody was just starting to pop in, I had put a poll out on my community tab on what days to do my live streams, because I had been doing them on Monday nights for a long time. But there's so many people that do them on Monday nights. So I said, Monday nights, keep it at that. Tuesday nights, I gave different time slots, and one of them was Friday morning. So I just thought for the next couple weeks, I am just going to do those different time slots and see how everyone likes them. Now, I know that people that work during the day can't watch them during the day, but they can always watch them afterwards. But I never have my lives more than a half hour anyway. But I was going to show you one of my paintings I'm doing. Now, I call this Christmas Mayhem, and it's just fun and silly. And so here it is. So it's supposed to make you think that the owl got twisted up in the lights and pulled the banner down. I don't know if I can make that go far enough away that you can see it all. I don't think I can, because it's kind of a big painting. Oh, there it is. It's crazy. It's Christmas Mayhem. So I haven't sealed it yet because I'm not sure I'm all the way done with it, but I thought it would be kind of fun. And oh, and Angela's here too. Hello, Angela. How are you? Back behind me, you see the sheet where my hydroponics is usually. But I took the time and I took my hydroponics all the way apart. Hydroponics can get algae inside, and so I scrubbed that. And because we leave in less than a month to Arizona. Oh, and Joe is just walking in. And he went to get me applesauce. Not that I couldn't make my own applesauce, because I need to pick my apples, but I didn't have applesauce, and I needed some. And so I just cleaned it all. It all comes apart in sections. And so I scrubbed it. Well, algae is kind of hard to get off. So I found that using some borax was probably the easiest thing. Oh, and Angie says, "Hi, Joseph." Yeah, that right there. No, I'm not having that.
Hi, Angie.
Yeah, Joe ran to the store quick. He got a couple things. So I literally had to take a little scrubby pad, and maybe Angie has some good ideas on how to get algae out. But I'm thinking there should be some kind of, like if you have a pond, you have too much algae, there's things to put in. Oh, thanks, Anne. She says, hit that like button, friends. That always helps. But there, in a pond, you get too much algae. There's things that you can put in your pond that don't hurt the plants. So I'm thinking there should be something that you can put in your hydroponics. So at the end of each season, when we were going back to Arizona, I don't have to scrub that algae out. So I'm not sure, and maybe Angie knows, but because it was hours that I was cleaning it, and I cleaned the hose and I cleaned the pump. I did all kinds of stuff. So now it's just waiting. The lights are underneath that sheet too, and next year when we come back to Wyoming, I will fill the reservoir up and let it sit for a little while because pumps dry out. And one of the things you need to do is let that soak for a little while before you actually turn the pump on again. So that's just something I'm going to do. And we had a book sale at our library. Every year in September, they have a book sale. People donate books. There's books that they cull out of the library. Maybe they're older. Not very many people check them out. Things like that. Thousands of books. In fact, Friday night when it's the early bird sale, if you're a friends of the library, you get to go to that. It was literally probably 10,000 or 15,000 books. It was visual overload. I bought a few books that night, but then I worked I worked 3 different shifts this time because they were short. And it was so interesting. All the books, hardcovers $2, soft covers $1, DVDs $1, CDs $1, and it is just crazy the amount of people that come in that buy books. All Angie says, to clean my hydroponics, it's elbow grease and bleach. I didn't put bleach in there. I could have put bleach, but the borax worked actually surprisingly good. I would put the borax on this brush thing that I had, and I would just put it on there, and it cleaned it the fastest. I tried baking soda first, and I looked up how to remove algae, and those were 2 of the things that they said. So, but the book sale, there was some fabulous cookbooks. And then I like books, and I bought a couple of these ones. Plus, when you work, you get a free bag of books. Tips, Hints, and Everyday Wisdom. This is a Rodale book. So it has a whole section in gardening. So I thought that would be fun. So gardening section, tips and hints. But now I get because I'm off of my 30 days of silence, I actually get to watch the rest of Alone. Because I didn't watch any TV, we didn't go to any movies, and so I get to finish watching Alone, the Australian version. They are crazy down there. And disappointing. Disappointing because they have been dropping like flies, so I'll have to see the episodes that I have missed, like 4 of them. So that'll be fun. But that I'm going to have to fit into my schedule. But one of the things I found in 30 Days of Silence was that I always have lists. Every single day I have lists. And it was the first time in years that I actually finished lists some days. And so that was interesting to me. That, and Joe, I can hear that.
Hi.
He turned it on so he's watching the live. And it's like a few seconds delayed. And so I can hear myself talk, so he's putting his earbuds in. So, Joe, say hi to everybody. So, that's kind of funny. Now, other things I'm going to dehydrate because it's the end of the season, and this is so much easier to take to Arizona in Ziploc bags than boxes of vegetables, right? And you're so funny. I have a bunch of Swiss chard. The Swiss chard this year has just been phenomenal. And I actually cut it all the way down to the ground about a month ago. And it has just brought up all these brand new leaves that are just humongous. Because it likes the cooler weather anyway. And so I'm going to dehydrate a bunch more. Not that I don't have Swiss chard dehydrated, but I'll take some of it down to Arizona. And I love adding it to scrambled eggs, soups, casseroles. Basically, you can add it to all kinds of stuff. I have a few more cabbages over there. And if you haven't dehydrated a red cabbage before, it actually turns sweet. So it's kind of like eating candy. I am just using the Ziploc. It is much cheaper, and I will use all these. I have, I think, so far 7 bags. So I figured that's 1¼ bags per month. I could easily use that down there. And so I just didn't think I needed to put them in Mylar bags. If you were going to do it long storage, definitely use a Mylar bag. But if you're going to use it that season, just use a Ziploc bag. It's way cheaper and it'll work just fine. But for long storage, I do have things downstairs that are in Mylar bags. So they're just choices people make. And yeah, and because things add up and things are expensive, and you're trying to do your stuff and you're trying to dehydrate, so you're preserving so you can use it in the wintertime. Because when I get to Arizona, I do have a garden, but it takes a while before you can ever harvest. And the tomatoes, the great big ones, it's the end of the season by the time I'm eating fresh tomatoes. I mean, the cherries are much, much earlier. So these I can just add them to everything. Okay, so Angela's saying, name your dehydrator. I have an Excalibur. I used to have a round one. They work. If that's what you can afford, get that. But I've had my Excalibur. I think Joe got it for me for, I don't know if it was a Christmas or a birthday present or something. But I've had it for a long time, and I think mine has 9 shelves. And it is an amazing dehydrator. It's very even. If I really pack it hard with a lot of stuff, that very bottom shelf doesn't dry as fast as the rest of it. But that's when I'm really packing it. But it is, for me, I thought, well worth the money. Now, they're a lot more expensive now than when I got one. But there's a lot of different ones. Mine is just an Excalibur. They make these ones by Lem they're like industrial dehydrators for your house. I'd like one, but they're really spendy. But I do like Lem. Angie says that she has 2 Excaliburs and a round one. Excalibur is her favorite. Yeah, I've just been really happy. It's pretty true to the temperature. If you put a thermometer in there, if you're setting it at 125, it's 125. 145, it's 145. You know, you might vary a degree or something, but that's probably just the circulation that's happening. So I think they're well worth it. The ones that you're sliding the shelves in, the fan is in the back so that it's actually circulating around all of those different shelves. Where a round one, the air comes up through the hole and then it disperses down. So depending on how tight you pack things, you might have to just switch some of those shelves around different times, which is an easy thing to do. I just like to be able to put my stuff in there, turn it on, and then check it 6 to 12 hours later, depending on when I'm dehydrating. But we'll see how long the pumpkins take. I was trying to think if I'd actually dehydrated pumpkins before. I think I have. I know I've strung them before. And you're stringing them like you do how people string beans sometimes. That's basically the idea of it. Anne's just has her dehydrator just has an off. It's from the 70s and 80s. I probably need to upgrade. Well, yeah, I think most of the round ones don't have a temperature either. You just turn them on and the fan is just working. But anymore, they have fancy dancy dehydrators. It's crazy. Well, Swarmstead Bees and Garden, how are ya? Oh, Angie says her pumpkins took 13 to 14 hours. I would guess so too. They're dense. And so things that are dense, where a tomato, there's air spaces in there. The liquid starts to dry and there's always air space, so they're faster. Depending on the size or slices or dices that you're doing with the onion, that makes a difference on how. So you just check them, And usually when you get a dehydrator, it comes with a book. There's books you can check out at the library on dehydrating, and they will tell you things that you never dreamed that you could dehydrate. And so that's kind of fun. Now, I have dehydrated eggs before. There's a lot of question on the safety of that. So I haven't done it for a really long time. And when you dehydrate eggs, you really should put them in the freezer, not leave them, even when you're vacuum sealing them. From research, they say it's just not safe to use that. So if you're going to dehydrate your eggs, then you you grind them up afterwards. You put them in vacuum sealed bags, but you should put them in the freezer. So just one of those things. Anne says, I often wondered where we find temperatures and timings for things we dehydrate. Yeah, there's tons of charts on the internet, but there's lots of books always in libraries. And even some cookbooks will have sections on dehydrating, and they will have charts too. I'm using my solar wax melter to dehydrate hot peppers for grinding. Oh, I would think that was totally work good. Oh, and Dorothy's here. Hey, Dorothy, how are you? I am glad to be back. 30 days is a long time to be off of YouTube. But it was good. It was a good decision for me to take that time and step back. So, sometimes you just got to take care of yourself. Yeah, and just Google PDFs, dehydrating charts, and it will pull up all kinds of stuff. Or visit your library. I love libraries, so I like to go to them. But it's almost anything in your garden. I'm trying to think if there's anything I couldn't dehydrate. And I really can't think of anything. Now, things I haven't pulled out of my garden yet. I think this weekend, if we don't have rain all weekend, I'm going to pull all of my pumpkins up. Always make sure that you have as long a stem, some people call them trunks, on your pumpkin or squash as possible. Sometimes they break. You're trying to cut those off the vines and they just break. Things happen. But if they break, use those first before any of the other ones. Angie says, I dehydrate frozen vegetables for Kimber's dog food. Kimber is their little dog, and that's a great idea, because a lot of times if you're not growing those vegetables, you have to buy them either at a farmer's market, maybe one of your neighbors gives them to you. You have to procure them somehow, and it's very easy to dehydrate frozen vegetables. My friend Mary gave me a bunch of peaches, and she says they're starting to get soft. You're going to have to do something with them. So today I have to do something with them. So I could make peach vanilla bean jam or jelly. I could make a cobbler, though we have a pumpkin pie in our fridge. But I was kind of thinking about just slicing them up and dehydrating them. Or I could slice them up and put them in some freezer bags and just put them in the freezer for when I wanted them later. not sure what to do. I have about 20 of them, so it's not like I can do multiple things with them. But my dehydrator is empty right now, and I could do that. But I'm thinking really more the freezing. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm not really sure. But something I have to do. Oh, that's a good idea. Angela says ice cream. Yeah. I love peach ice cream. And I haven't made homemade ice cream all summer. That is a good idea. And I have raw milk still that I didn't take all the cream off when I made the whipped cream yesterday for the pie. So I could do that. Dorothy says, I saw someone dehydrating tomatoes, process them to dust, then 1-to-1 water makes a paste, 1-to-2 makes a sauce. Totally true. A lot of times I will take this after it's dehydrated, put it in my Vitamix, and just pulverize it. And then you have tomato powder, and you can use it for all kinds of stuff. And I mean, when you grow tomatoes, I mean, I have canned tomato sauce. I have canned tomatoes. Some of them are whole. Some of them are sliced. Some of them are quartered. I just didn't want to can them because I had too many downstairs, and so that's why I just dehydrated them, and I'm going to take those to Arizona. So that will be perfect. That's what I'm thinking, Ann. Then I can just use them whenever I want to. We're here till the 20th of October, and the pie will be gone in a couple days, and then I could pull them out. I could make a peach pie. I could do all kinds of stuff. So I have been reading a book on fats, soluble fats, trans fats, polysaturated fats. It's very interesting. It's very discouraging. It's very shocking, actually, on the good fats and the bad fats. And there is a lot of bad fats. And it's like, ugh, I'm so disappointed. But more disappointed on the process that some of the stuff goes through. Like, well, soybeans are not on the top of my list anyway. But the process that they do, and actually even the process of different olive oils, that some olive oils you buy in the store aren't actually olive oils, or they have a very small part of olive oil. But I read the story of Crisco. That was so... I threw my can of Crisco away. Because after I read that, it was like, I'm never using that again. So I have to find some alternatives. But that's okay. That gives me a little something to search and find out about. And so I'm okay with, like we have used Best Foods mayo the whole time Joe and I have been married. We like it. And then why I never looked on the back what was in it, the main thing is soybean oil. Soybean oil has phytoestrogen compounds that affect your brain. And it was like, yeah, see, don't read the story of Crisco unless you like horror. It is so horrible. Never use Crisco again. I have to find something alternative. I mean, I love avocado oil. And so I'm going to try making my pie crust with avocado oil. Or I could use coconut oil. I could do that with my pie crust. And I do have one can of Crisco downstairs that, in case of emergency, that I can make a candle. But the one that was partially used, I threw out because I didn't want it in my kitchen. But it is Superfood Spirits is so right. You will be totally shocked. The process, and then I didn't realize that all of these different ones, they go through these chemical processes, and then they're bleaching them, and then you're supposed to eat them. It's like, oh my gosh. Rebecca says, I got a question. How many eggs do you use to make your own mayo. The recipe that I'm going to use uses 2. And they use 2 whole eggs and then 2 yolks. And so basically 4 eggs. But I'm going to do a little video on making the avocado mayo. And so, Rebecca, I will send you that. I think, I'm positive I have your email. So I will send you the recipe for the mayo. But I'm going to do a video on it. And, you know, you could do 4 and 5 hour live streams on how bad some of the stuff we eat every single day is. I don't want to get into that. Hi, Carol. Carol, it is right at the 30 minutes, and I am about to sign off. But thank you so much, and all you guys that came in, I appreciate it. Because I don't do Friday mornings, but that was just one of my options, so I'm just gonna do a few different ones, like different time slots of live streams. Tuesday night at 6:30 was by far the biggest vote on the poll. Rebecca's going to use coconut oil and olive oil together. See, that would be good. I'm going to try avocado because I love avocado, and I have actually years ago made a mayo with avocado oil. So, you know, I'm just going to go back to that, and no more Best Foods mayo for us. You know, and it's good to try different recipes because you don't know which mayo or which recipe that you want to use, which is the best. But I'm going to let you guys go because it's 32 minutes. I appreciate you guys popping in when I only scheduled it last night, and so I just appreciate it. So thanks for sticking by me when I went to 30 days of silence. I told Joe I might only have 10,000 subscribers when I get back. But it was all good. So have a great weekend. Look for more videos, and I will see you next time. Bye, everybody.